And we are live with episode 2, V-Respawn. We've got a name now, right, Nikki?
That's right. The name V-Respawn. You can check us out Twitter on our website. We are officially branded. We couldn't tell you last week because we didn't want anyone to steal the name because it was so cool.
Yeah, we had fun. You know, it's actually incredibly long-winded. It was like virtual reality, eSports analysis, and weekly news. I was just trying to make a word. We're not really married to it. We might change the name later. When you said branding, we kind of just threw stuff at the wall and hope that we like it. It is a community-built thing. So if you have better branding you want to throw away and everybody's like, hey, this is good, and you throw it up on that subreddit, let us know, man. This is what this is a community-built show. There are no rules. I say this all the time when somebody asks me, can I post this on the website, or should we use AP style or what have you? And I was like, there are no rules, man. We have no bosses. We have, strangely enough, had people offer us money or talk about investing, and we're like, no. This is a community thing. We don't want corporate overlords. We want to build the thing that us as a community that we want to see, and we don't want to have like weird rules that ruin it all with like banner ads and stuff.
Authenticity, zero bribing.
Yes,
that's our tagline.
We're gonna run for government on that one. I wonder if the government has a department of VR esports, but they're going to need one eventually. Well, okay, so first thing I want to talk about is the VR Master League. Onward is on break from the season 4 finale that ended in the UK Invitational for Virtual Reality League with ESL. But the ladder matches for season 5 have been scheduled, and they are right now, as we speak, playing them. There's also some OC5 rumors that we may see Onward play over there, which is in line with the ESL VR League hints that they may include Onward. So we'd have Onward in 2 leagues. I know Master League is primarily a Vive played sport, and VR League is all Rift. So that's where you're going to see the split in those 2 sports, see which one they like. And I do hear from players that there are people who prefer one or the other. What are your thoughts on that, Stealth?
Vive v Rift. I used to be Team Vive. I was originally a Vive purchaser, and things happened. HTC support. And now I'm on Team Rift.
Yeah. So like I the same at launch back in 2016, I got both a Vive and a Rift, and I loved showing the Vive to everybody because they didn't have the controllers for the Rift yet. They had a couple cool games. I did like showing people the Apollo 11, but after the touch controllers came out, they had a couple more good games, but it was still bounced back and forth. And it was really about the time Echo Arena came out last year, and they had their summer Rift and were selling much cheaper Rifts. So we had more people in population, and it just blew up. And before I knew it, I had 4 Rifts instead of just the one, and my Vive sits in a box still. Not that it's still not a good unit, not that the deluxe audio strap doesn't make it great, but anybody who is honest about it says that, yeah, they're ready for something new. And Valve has been teasing their knuckles through their developers, so people are excited. Yeah. I mean, that's literally the biggest complaint that any of us who have a Vive complain about, is that we freaking hate the wands. We're over it. We're over touchpads. Touchpads look good on paper, but no, we're done, right?
Yeah. I'm kind of down for the Windows mixed reality controllers that have both, but the touch controllers are just far superior. The wands are constantly breaking. The grips are unintuitive. I like the headset, but the controllers what kill it, and the touch controller is just so ergonomic and so simple for people to use. Especially when you're demoing, you tell them hit the grip button on the Vive. They don't even know what button's there. You say hit the middle button, your middle finger button on the Rift, and it's right there. Super easy to use. I love that controller. It's nice, compact.
Exactly.
Lighter,
actually,
too.
One of my Rift buddies bought me these like silicone grips for my controllers, because one of the complaints I have about the touch controllers is that they're kind of slick, especially when you play an esports or sweaty game. And the finish that's on the Vive controllers, your hand can grip it and hold on to it a lot better. So there is that. And people like to come up with their solutions, just like they do for that Oculus button. That Oculus has assured us they are working on some code so that it's a hold to pull up the menu as an option and not just a tap. But it is harder than people think. Well, let's get right into our Sprint Vector material that we pre-recorded for you. Servios' Sprint Vector, that esports racing game of running, jumping, diving, flying, and just attacking each other with whatever item you can get your hands on, is still going strong. The players are still sussing each other out. You're seeing a little bit of changes in points on the leaderboard. We're definitely going to see some more people getting higher as they start working on their emergent gameplay, the jump boosting mechanic. And Katie Dead here with her actually streaming the events, letting us see how they're happening. You can see where she starts getting up real close and just keeps catching punishment after punishment. You get punished so bad for making mistakes, catching items. It's very difficult to fight in that respect, to have to think on your feet and then when you're very tired, you start to make mistakes. A common mistake you'll see players make, and you see her make here occasionally, where when they're in the air, they're still trying to do a running motion, and their hand ends up pointing the wrong way, and at that moment, you've transitioned into flying, and that'll give you a lot of trouble. If you try to transition to flying and point the wrong way, you're going to zip off in that direction. And brutally punishing when you make that mistake and have to recover and lose a lot of the momentum that you had just gained. But this jump boosting mechanic, if you keep your eyes open, you'll actually see where they hit a surface and suddenly they get way more speed after a jump than you would expect them to get. And it's all about timing. It requires a lot of practice. And some of the earlier players like Ruka felt and Skits were not happy about the emergence of that mechanic. But just like in Smash Brothers and other games where you have this new gameplay mechanic that people discover, like air control in the early days of Smash as an example, the people who start figuring it out and get good at it, they change the game and they hold the lead for a while until everyone catches up. Eventually, we start seeing tutorials and people explaining it. We'll be happy to break those down for you whenever we start seeing those videos come from the high-end players. But until then, it's a wide open field for you to figure things out and to figure out what is the best route. Like, they're still changing the routes, they're still deciding which ways to go. You see Katie take some riskier routes to try to get ahead, but, one mess up, you'll lose all your momentum and end up losing out on the game.
I'm here today in Sprint Vector by Servios, and this is another awesome game in virtual reality. I play on an Oculus Rift, and you do too, I believe, correct, Cod?
Yep.
Yeah, now I can't remember, can you play this game on a Vive as well with Revive? Or do you have to play on it?
I know it is on the Steam store, so you can definitely play it on that, and there is cross-play, just not in private lobbies. So for the purposes of ESL, they only allow Oculuses because we organize it through private lobbies.
Well, I'll check that. All right, so I'm talking with Cod's Worthless, except I just call him Cod because I don't want to say he's worthless. He is definitely not. And tell us what you've been doing in Sprint Vector, how you've been doing. I believe you've been participating in ESL. Now, have you been doing this whole season, and how have your games been going?
So for the first couple months I played this, I didn't play it too much, but then when Servios kind of teed a tournament for it, I got back into it and really started practicing a lot more. I was well prepared with a bunch of other of the regulars here. We're all what they call vector heads because we've completed like the weekly challenges and stuff before.
That's great.
So I've just been practicing a lot there. But it's hard to do it because they are the best competition. I think most of my practice comes from the actual matches themselves.
Sure.
Because we're all completely pushing each other there. You'll see we get all of our records in those matches. We can never get them in single player like that.
Because you're more competitive in the multiplayer, you feel like you perform better because you actually have competition there forcing you to do better?
Oh, yeah.
Or pushing you to? Yeah, that's great.
So what we do is we just go into, I think there's at least a dozen courses, I know that. So we just practice, most of us practice on like single player with the bots. Obviously, the bots aren't really a challenge for us, so we just use that just to get our times up and learn shortcuts in all the stages. And of course improve our, base mechanics, because that's really all it is. There's a few base mechanics that you just gotta perfect or at least know well, and that's how most of us are getting by in these ESL matches.
Well, I would think that this would be one of the ESL games that would actually be more like real life competitive sports. Yeah,
I would definitely compare this to more real life things like actual racing and not marathons and stuff, but quicker stuff. Yeah, I like performing as an individual because, well, as my name implies, I really feel like I don't contribute much to teams. I feel like, people are always better than me, and they usually are, admittedly. So I like being able to do good because I myself am good, and it's not my teammates responsible for any wins or anything like that.
Right, so you feel like you just worry sometimes you might let them down if you're part of a team?
Yeah.
If you have somebody who's watching this who has been playing Sprint Vector and they think they're pretty good, but they have never done ESL, what advice or tips would you give them?
I think even though I am doing very well in the ESL game so far, I still learn a lot from watching, people that are beating me and that I'm beating. I still always learn, more efficient paths, how to do mechanics better. I think that for me is the best way. And of course, just practicing. It takes hours to get all the stuff perfectly. You do have to spend a lot of time in it. And of course, ESL, it doesn't. If you join now, there's only one more left next Friday. So you're not likely to get too far in it.
Right.
But if you are really good, there's still a chance to win some money for the last Friday.
Sure, and it would encourage them, if someone's thinking they might like to compete, even if they compete next year, I think even having one competition under your belt will give you an idea.
Oh, yeah. They are insanely vigorous. Like me and the guys were always talking about on the Servio's Discord. It's just, we even try to, everyone tries to meet up, the day before the ESL matches, because we just like playing with each other so much, and we do push each other so far.
That's great.
All right, that was Hasco. I jumped the gun actually a little bit for my intro and forgot to pull up the B cards for how the brackets actually played out. So let me go ahead and pull those up for you now so that we can see how the matches actually played out. It wasn't too much different as you're going to see here. We ended up having Precision winning out, Joker coming back and getting closer to Barnaby Jones pulling up third, and Kaznaz, strangely enough, pulling up fourth. But as you can see, the point differentials are very tiny. So Kaznaz was able to hold on to first place quite well, with Cod's Worthless, who Hasco was talking to in that interview, pulling up second. Special thanks to Hasco again for doing those interviews for us. She's going to be doing more interviews, and we are working on ways to make those a little bit easier to watch, so that we're steady camming. And we've been discussing ways of converting a headset into a steady cam. So that ought to be a little fun for us to play with. Let's take a look at the European rounds as well. You see Stody uncontested, much higher point differentials. You see almost a full 20 points ahead of Flush Gogo, the top player for
As
Unspoken.
always.
Yeah, as always, unstoppable, that guy. There's not a lot of competition over in European Union for most of the VR esports games, to be fair. Not near as many people have headsets over there or computers to run them, so you don't see as many top players. So the money is free for the taking. Something we keep forgetting to mention here on the stream is that most of these leagues have monetary prize packages involved in them, and we're going to have to get better at telling people how much money that is week per week and at the finales, so people understand how much money they're leaving on the table by not getting in and competing against these people. As you can see, no one has any hope, I think, of catching up against Stody, but I do think that Sprint Vector, the way that it is built, it has a higher chance of you being able to get the points that you need. As we'll get into a little bit later, we see that the way the Unspoken is designed, that when first couple of leaders get a strong enough lead, it's going to be just about dang near impossible to catch them. We solved that in the Echo Arena League by putting stuff in stages and doing big brackets of double eliminations and Swiss formatting. The way that you get into world qualifiers for Echo Arena has become incredibly complicated, but I think far more fair.
Yeah, some of those Echo Arena guys are vying for that second spot. There might be 2 spots open for Oculus Connect 5, and Eclipse is almost certainly coming back, but 3 other guys are really gunning for that second spot, and we'll talk more about those guys.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a bit
later on.
But for now, that was Sprint Vector. Sprint Vector is getting very competitive as more and more people are learning the jump boost mechanic that I talked about in that video. The emergent gameplay, as the developers call it.
Emergent gameplay. If you guys weren't around in the Discord, you should know that emergent gameplay, we weren't sure for the longest time if it was an exploit, if you'd get banned or penalized for using it, if they were going to get rid of it, if we should practice it because they're not going to get rid of it. Ultimately, it became emergent gameplay. They can't get rid of it because it's part of the core movement system. So everyone just has to use it to be competitive.
It's wave dashing, buddy. That's what it is. I'm telling you, that emergent gameplay is the same stuff we saw in Smash Brothers Melee and other video games where there's knacky things that you could do, like bunny hopping and surfing and old Counter-Strike that made it into later games like TF2. That instead of removing it, they're like, no, it's just part of the game, and it's another crazy complicated mechanic you can learn. And we saw that in the early days of Smash Brothers, where people would learn these little mechanics and they would tell nobody, maybe telling other people, and they would be unstoppable until everyone else figured it out. And wave dashing was one of the top tier things that you just had to learn if you even wanted to compete. If you didn't do that, you were hosed, and it's really hard to do, and it's harder on some of the other players.
Speaking of Sprint Vector, we saw Mewtwo King sleeping on a couch at the Servios party.
Yes,
and this is going to go somewhere. That guy is so good at Smash. I respect him so much. I've heard enters 2v2 tournaments and then plays without a partner. He plays with level 9 CPU Luigi, and just wins tournaments so he doesn't have to split the prize money with anyone. If none of the other Smash gods show up. It's hilarious.
I actually did not know that. Yeah. I didn't know he did that. I did know that he played at he played the new Smash Brothers at E3 and apparently kept getting killed. So there was that. I did hear that.
There's a lot to learn there. A lot of top players flew people out for that.
And he tried out a lot of couches before he finally settled on one at the Servios party.
Oh yeah, we caught him sleeping there. I wasn't sure that was him. I was walking up to the couch, didn't see anyone on there. Was about to sit down. I'm like, "Yo, this guy sleep? That's not Mewtwo King, is it?"
Yes, it is.
We had our resident expert Rukerfelth come double check. That absolutely was him.
Yeah, it was very good to see. That was our E3
Sick
moment.
Party.
That was the party was also pretty banging. Special thanks to Amy for getting us that high shot up with the DJ, and special thanks to Electronauts for crashing halfway through the party. That was fun.
Oh yeah, and the police for breaking it all down at 2:50 a.m.
That's what the police really came. The police also wanted to see Electronauts, and they were mad that it shut down.
They wanted to try it out. It's just such a good game. They heard the music from the police station. We didn't actually get a noise complaint. The police were like, "Yo, we got to go check this out."
It's like, you see, the DJ is inside a game right now. Okay. Yeah. It's like with Sprint Vector, consistency and avoiding air dashes and mistakes is more important than ever. And people are going to get tighter and tighter on that game. You already see that right now with Unspoken, the oldest VR esport game, I think, right now, seeing as they started like way back when they had those partnerships with Microsoft.
Even before
stores.
Onward.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think it was the first one all the way back when they were doing Microsoft Store partnerships. Yeah. We talked about the previous episode how you were able to place really high in that. Back when people were still learning the game, back when people were still figuring out what VR was, us early adopters and now VR evangelists could have not been able to let it go. It was like, we don't care what you think. We don't do what's popular. We do what's awesome until you find out it should be popular.
Exactly.
And people are coming
if
around.
If I want to do that, I'd be playing Overwatch on Twitch right now.
Or what is it? Fortnite, right? That's the popular game.
Or Fortnite or WoW.
Yeah.
No, not
we
to
play
say
what we like.
wrong with Fortnite.
No, they're great games. They're great games. I'm just saying we go our own way, and I see VR as the future. I do. A lot of us who really love VR evangelists, we have found that the more VR you play, the harder it is to play pancake games. But there are flat games that they're just too cool not to play. For example, I was headlong into VR when Breath of the Wild came out, and I was like, I'm playing Breath of the Wild. But the whole time I'm playing it, I was like, why is this not in VR? I wanted that world to be in VR so bad. Well, you know what? You know who else had some interesting moments this week was Pavlov. You've covered extensively. A fan favorite.
Pavlov and the Mafia. There's a little bit of drama this week, which we don't want to become a drama sort of tabloid show, but sticking a vintage World War II weapon through a wall is breaking several international laws, and that happened this past week. Let's check it out.
It's a war crime.
Competitive Pavlov explicitly bans wizardry, and that's exactly what got the Mafia's Alfredo in trouble this week in their game against Dream. Alfredo purposefully shoved his Karn 88K into a wall in their competitive Dust 2 match to try to wall hack against Dream. This horrendous disregard for the explicitly clear no clipping through solid objects rule turned their 1-1 tie into an 0-2 loss for Alfredo and his team, the Mafia. While the Mafia did not endorse Alfredo's moves, the team captain Meaty One calling out Alfredo's actions moments after he abused the wall glitch, Alfredo still earned himself a 2-week league play suspension and a trip to Pavlov Purgatory. Meanwhile, EU's newest team VRATH lost Star, Opper, Infish, and Mr. S, who moved to the Leftovers and the Reapers respectively. To fill the spot, VRATH picked up Physical, aka longtime league player Wrist, whose name was so offensive for a brief couple hours in the Pavlov official Discord that repeating it on air would get me arrested. Wrist takes the role of in-game leader and opper for VRATH. His first order of business as in-game leader for VRATH, Rist's first action was to create a wanted poster for deserters Infish and Mr. S to show his discontent for their team swaps. This week, Team Magma had a 1-1 tie with the Reapers, who are ranked in third. Both teams, strangely enough, won on the opposing team's map pick with the same scores, 10-5, with the Reapers picking and losing on Train and Magma picking and losing on Cash. Oz Army landed their first tie this week, nearly taking a full win off the Mafia, but losing 10-9 on Inferno after an indisputable 10-6 win. TNT from NA and the Leftovers from Europe also tied this week, with the Leftovers winning 10-7 on Dust 2 and TNT winning 10-6 on Mirage. Arctic scored their second win 2-0 against Oz Army, but suffered a brutal but expected 0-2 loss against Voltron, who is the top team. Coming up, the game of the week will be the Leftovers versus the Reapers, two top-tier EU teams with players you may recognize from the VRATH wanted posters. The challenge match between Voltron and Dream, the two top-tier teams, on July 1st at 5 p.m. EST, will be the highest skill Pavlov gameplay the internet has yet to see. The pump shotgun and revolver are going to start seeing a lot more play in league matches and should shake up the low eco meta. Both are cheap, powerful, and clumsy to use, which is great for creating a high skill ceiling. Lastly, check out this week's newsletter starring the infamous Alfredo talking about his questionable actions causing his team a forced forfeit. We're going to send it back to Nikki and Poonanners now at the desk.
Thank you, past Nikki.
Yeah, this is present Nikki here with a look at the ladder. As you guys know, Voltron was absolutely tearing it apart, as always. Dream and the Reapers following right behind them. Voltron, I think, is still leading by 40 points.
Yeah, that's right, 40 points. And then the 20 points, the Reapers behind Dream on that one. It's still very close in the ladder. As you know, they can all challenge each other as needed. There's a pattern to the madness. But it's the classic ladder matches, which helps you sort of suss out who the best is. And right now, Voltron is trying their best to hold on the lead and doing a pretty dang good job of it.
So here's the thing. There are a lot of new guns that just came out in Pavlov and some buffs that are going to shake up the economy system of the game when you're low on money. So if you don't know, Pavlov works off of a money system similar to CSGO. And what you want is if you're low on cash, buy cheaper weapons, and those teams that can find players that are better at using the revolver, which is like a cheap deagle now, takes a lot longer to reload, it's a lot of recoil. The shotgun, the pump action shotgun's cheap and is a one shot, but obviously it's a pump, so it fires slow. Those kinds of guns, if you have a player that is really good with those, you can really turn around rounds where you're behind on money. So we'll see if any of those teams use those weapons to rise up in the ranks. But we got an interview coming up with one of those Pavlov players who is apparently, from what I hear, the quote is sick. Right, Poonairs?
Yeah. Well, it's from that 20-second video that everyone got to see on eSports VR, the subreddit, where he he cooks a flashbang, tosses it right in the face of the team as he hears them all trying to cheese them with the B rush, if I remember correctly, and then just wastes them all with a pistol, just as soon as the match gets started. And we get into this a lot. There's nothing I like more than when somebody, so in any game, the thing I hate the most is being cheesed, but at the same time, who doesn't love a good cheese move? But the only thing more fun than a cheese move is beautifully executed anti-cheese measures. And we're going to talk to him about it now. The man, the myth, and the legend, Scorched. All right, I'm here with Scorched of Dream Team, if I remember correctly, second in command underneath Boris. Still just a little bit lower on that ladder than Voltron. I know that they recently got you by a little bit. But the thing that we really want to talk about before we get into the ladder is that ace that you scored that everybody's been watching, that 20-second video of you completely wiping another team using your anti-cheese methods. You want to walk us through what you were thinking there?
Yeah. So it was just a standard B rush from CT side. Me and Twitch was right behind me in that clip. I heard they were coming up through B tunnel, so I had a flash in my hand, tossed that through, cooked it just right. First two guys came through. Twitch definitely helped me on that one. and 19 rounds in the Glock definitely also helped with that. But
Yeah,
they all got flashed from that flashbang, so it was pretty easy just mopping them up.
I think was the last guy also flashed, or was he a straggler? It seemed like the last one was like completely out of touch. Are you suppose he just wandered off the wrong direction and turned back around?
I think he got flashed and backed back off.
Okay, because they were definitely. It was obvious they were blind. That was very sad to watch from. I guess if I was on the receiving end of that, but it was hilarious to watch from our perspective, knowing that you've got your positional audio, you can hear those footsteps. You know the rush is coming. You're like those cheesing bastards, cooking that flash grenade that already has a short freaking fuse on it as it is, and that's crazy. And you get it just around that corner enough that you don't get flashed yourself, but somehow get all of them. Nobody breaks line of sight before it goes off. And I noticed that you did like a reverse threat assessment where you're like, all right, that guy in the back, he was the furthest away, so I'm going to kill him first.
Yeah.
Oh, brutal. Well, that match was over, right? I'm sure you're really happy about pulling that one off.
Oh yeah, that was a great round.
Best thing about pulling stuff like that off is catching it on video, right?
Absolutely.
Well, so your loss to Voltron. I know that you still got more fights in the ladder that you can do. You know, you're allowed to challenge anybody, that they can kind of sit on it as long as they want. Are there more points you hope to get from other people before you challenge them again?
I don't know, man. I'm ready to go against Voltron whenever they are.
You had too much fun the first time?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing like playing somebody that's close to your skill level in these competitive games.
Absolutely.
We often find it feels like it makes you better when you play them. It's definitely hard. It makes you work for it. And when you lose, like it kind of hurts, but at the same time, you're like, just one more game.
Oh yeah. The only way you get better is by playing better players.
Mm-hmm. Which is something better players often learn in a lot of competitive leagues. And as a result, if they know they're the best, they won't play anybody if they know that there's like a money game coming up. They're like, we're just going to hold back and not scrim because we know that the only way you get better is playing us.
Good point.
Yeah. So what are some gimmicks that people can learn from you and other people to get better at Pavlov?
Play a lot of deathmatch. Aim for the head.
Yeah, I see you posed in front of the headshot practice in this custom map. Do you use this map a lot in order to work on your aim, or is it more about those moving targets?
It's mainly about the moving targets. Sure, this is great for, stationary targets, but that's not what Pavlov's about. You gotta get that tracking aim down.
So what are your thoughts about the latest update from Dave?
It's amazing. Latest update, best update so far, I think. The M4 in particular, the recoil was all over the place last patch, but it's really been cleaned up. It's a lot better.
It's really tightened that gun up for you. Have you tried your hand at gun game?
I have, yeah.
You enjoy that?
Absolutely. Gives you a nice walkthrough of all the guns that have been changed in order. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, sort of forces it on you. It's like, you know what? Let's break you out of your comfort zone. Let's try something new. I mean, it's also fun as it winds down, so that's the best part of that game. Anybody's played a lot of CSGO should be able to have fun with that.
Yeah.
Well, are there any other recommendations for players that you can give them other than just getting into it?
Play a lot.
Exactly, right?
I have, 800 hours at this point. Yeah. If you want to get good, you got to play more.
You got to keep that water and towel next to the computer, right?
Yeah.
Stay hydrated, folks. These are physical games.
Yep.
Well, we can't wait to see more from Dave. Can't wait for them to eventually kick out a Spectator client for us to all watch these games and be able to see more from you guys and see you probably in a bigger offline production. I know that people are big fans of the CSGO franchise, and this game's very close to it. To clean up those elbows, though, right?
Yeah.
All right, Dave is a one-man show, so he's doing the best he can, and I think he's done a great job so far. And Scorch is definitely showing off how good a job Dave has done at this game by really taking this game to task. So can't wait to learn more from you and your team as time lets on. Keep up the good fight, man.
Absolutely, will do.
So speaking of the update, and speaking of Spectator that I brought up there talking to Scorch and the excitement for it, Dave has actually given us permission to show off the Spectator client. I'm going to pull this up, but Nikki, Stealth Shampoo knows a lot more about it than I do.
This is exclusive, so I think this is some bayonet charging gameplay with the car, but that aside, The spectator mode here you can see shows a free cam, and when people get behind the sandbags here on bridge, this map makes you do some serious squats, by the way. When people get behind the sandbags, you can see how they're lit up blue right there. You can see people through walls. There's still a lot of polish going around with this, but this is exclusive footage here that we are getting to you guys first. Dave did an interview with us just a moment ago with Bro that just published literally hours ago. And he talked a lot about the spectator mode and how they're improving it. The spectator mode will actually work with live public games from what I hear. It will feature instant rewatchable replays. Actually, I think I added the word instant, but it will add replays. And it says you can do it to any competitive or public match, including live matches with a slight delay, obviously, so you can't, be there giving comms to your friendly team. But there are a lot of cool things that are coming, and they're really making a push for Pavlov eSports being viewable.
Yes, he's doing a good job there. He's really holding down the fort by himself, but we're excited to see it. The game itself is more fast paced, so it kind of fits with that pacing that you want to see out of an exciting esport. People are already very familiar with CS:GO, which we bring up a lot, that the game is very similar to it in a lot of respects, very, very similar to it. And so getting that spectator client and getting it right, I think also working on the inverse kinematics for the elbows will do a lot for the aesthetic of the game. So I can't wait to see what Dave kicks out. He's a one-man show, but man, he has done a lot in such a short space of time.
He is getting it done. If you guys want to check out the full interview, we'll have it linked in the description or somewhere accessible, probably on our Twitter as well. Go check it out.
You can probably get to it on the interview. Will be on vrrespawn.com. You check out vrrespawn.com, hit that Pavlov category, and you'll be able to find it. Bro and Haskell are two most prolific writers. Bro helped a lot for this segment. And if there are segments, other games that you want to help us with, you want to come on as a writer and write for us, this is a community show. So feel free to jump in and do that. Let's go ahead and talk about how awesome it's going to be for us to actually do commentary for these games as the esports for Pavlov goes in the future. We actually have a spectator client where we can just join for remote games and don't only have to do it at LAN games.
So to clarify, the spectator mode is 2D camera right now, or at least that's what Dave's primarily been working on, similar to Echo Arena. So I'm going to be able to control it from my keyboard here. And this is the VR game up there with Beat Saber that I have the most hours logged into, that I'm the most experienced with. I am very excited. And he's still pushing out content other than the spectator mode. Battle Royale is coming out eventually. Everything needs a Battle Royale, but especially Pavlov. And they also
skinnable guns.
Skinnable guns are a mod that's actually something you can do right now. And they also added the auto shotgun along with the revolver and AUG. The auto shotgun is super easy to use, has 20 rounds, obviously automatic, and you could spray down rooms of unaware people with that thing. Lots of cool stuff coming up to Pavlov.
Yeah, the shotgun I've heard has become far more dangerous. Speaking of dangerous and not dangerous, Unspoken saw Rukafel getting almost completely shut out of second place for the season in Unspoken. So let's take a look at our piece that we put together for that. In the game that started VR esports, we are back with the Spellslinger game by Insomniac, The Unspoken, making it into week 7 here in the VR League. Now you'll see again, we're back with number 1 Charizard, or Charizard for his friends. His first-person view, playing that TK class he still likes. We did see the other day he's playing Drifter against Ryuk's TK. But this time, if he's going to play against anything else, he's going to go TK. And this is Getsu in his Electromancer form, a favorite class of his, but still very knacky, very difficult to play because his shield operates differently. His shield operates on being able to reflect your attacks back at you in a different way than other classes. Instead of centering it up for a reflect, it absorbs them, and they can give you powerful blasts. But the TK, you can't reflect that. You can't absorb those giant things that he throws at you, heavies or the small objects. So you just break your shield. But he has a tiny advantage. He can teleport quickly. And the whole point of this game is break the other person's shield, force them to teleport, and then punish them when they're pinned and can't defend themselves if they don't find some cover or someplace to get away. In the Electromancer, if you're smart and you're really good with your timing, you can sort of abuse that mechanic, that little bit smaller teleport time, and really eke out what you need. And you're going to watch during the course of this match that Getsu is able to slowly but surely get one up on Charizard, able to get really close to defeating him in this first round. Now, it is best 2 out of 3, but we only have time for the one. If you want to check out all these matches and see how it goes down, you'll need to check out Charizard's Twitch or the other Twitch streamers that Twitch stream this game. You pay attention, and Charizard catches a couple times where he gets caught with his pants down. He's like, oh, that was a good move. I'm losing my health. But, still, I've got the advantage as he tries to fight. He attempts to just keep the heavies flying. He's going to find opportunity. This is the way anybody who knows Charizard, the way that he enjoys playing, is he keeps everything in his back pocket, never uses his Dispel if he can until the other player does or until he finds an opportunity to have to. But you'll find plenty of games where he won't even use his Dispel. He'll just hold it. And the reason being is because once the Dispel is out, you can't stop the other player from doing anything. So he'll wait for you to drop your Dispel and attack you. And a common counterattack that people will drop on him is that since you can't see what the other player's artifacts are, that people will sometimes not run a Dispel on him so that he's the whole time waiting to go full steam ahead on you for that Dispel, and you never even have it. So he catches some heavy damage right here, and he realizes he's on the ropes. But another thing about Charizard is that his defense is impeccable, especially when he's on the ropes. We've watched him hold onto a sliver of health for an entire round before and still be able to pull out to win. And he ends up doing the same thing in this game. So I won't hold your attention for too much longer, and instead I'll kick you over to the interviews. But first, let's take a look at the North American bracket and how it played out this week. As you can clearly see, Charizard marches his way down the bracket pretty much uncontested. And you see that Getsu does exactly the same thing with a little bit of a fight with Rukafelt. They have been fighting it out repeatedly, but Getsu, he ebbs and flows as his wrist gets a little bit better and was able to march his way down to fight Charizard, who still defeated him handedly. But if you catch some of their matches, you see they were very, very close. And that is reflected in the current stage rankings, as you can see on the right side of this chart, that Charizard clearly in lead. Getsu's got number 2, and Rukafelt is so far behind at this point that he says he does not think that he has a way of making it back. And I had a little bit of discussion with Charizard about how they award points and how it kind of makes it difficult to climb the ladder. So they may end up changing in the future how they approach these tournaments for the Unspoken. Over in the EU, things are not too much different. Flush Go just marching his way down the bracket. We need to talk to him next episode, to get a little feedback about how things are going for him now that he's recently signed up with Team Gravity, who is building their own esports brand around the EU VR esports teams. You can actually see that Dervil gets one over on Yawning Soldier and is able to take that win. It does not help him win the championship game against Flush Go, and it doesn't get him enough points to get into that second place over Yawning Soldier, the previous year's regional champion from the EU, also a TK main. Not a lot different happening there. But let's go ahead and check out this interview that we got with Charizard. It gave us a lot of tips on how to get into the community. All right, we have here the number 1 champion in the world for Unspoken. It's Charizard, the Unstoppable, dressed as his favorite blackjack, I believe. Right now, the purple's usually a dead giveaway, but unless you get a clue in on the knife, that's when you really know, right? The symbols in the background, you got to memorize them, but that's the dead giveaway. That's even part of your jersey now. But I've noticed anybody who watched the World Finals and have been watching some of your streams lately, lots of TK action from you. And I've noticed that you're not pulling the punches. Like, hey, if I'm going to win as TK, that's what's going to happen. What went into your mind on deciding just, you know what, TK is the way to go?
So you brought up the whole me having the blackjack shirt, and I am very much a fan of blackjack as a class. I think thematically, having a laser sight, being able to accurately shoot around the opponent's shield, just so much fun. But when it comes down to what is the strongest, I still firmly believe that Kineticist is the top choice right now. And it's been working, so.
I think it's strongest as far as like strength. Like it's a brute force class. You can't reflect its primals. And you can try to shoot them down if you can, but you're not going to get there. But I think it really plays up to somebody who has the strength and endurance to pull up those heavies. Well, you got to know where stuff in the map. You picked it up pretty quick, but to pull up those heavies and constantly throw them and not pass out and not tear a rotator cuff trying to play the TK.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a little bit of memorization to it. You learn where both, like you said, your 2 heavy spawns are, but each map also has like a collection of small items that you want to go around. And you can get like throw intervals where you're throwing like 2 or 3 of those within a second. And, that's enough damage within a second to break their hand shield if they're not teleporting to avoid it, teleporting and shooting it down. So you just learn all those positions on each one of the maps, and you're just like, well, I guess I win the primal trade. And if you win the primal trade, you win the whole thing. So
That's true. That's true. I mean, that's what you're trying to do is break their shield, get them to move, and then punish them, or wait for them to make a mistake. And to get to it said that you're not a guy who makes mistakes often. Now, you had mentioned that one of the main mechanics that you like to abuse for the TK is you do a lot of damage, bring down their shield, force them to teleport, then they can't go anywhere, so they're pinned. Free shot, more or less. As long as they're not behind cover, which is why y'all try to blow out the cover at the beginning. But the thing that made me think about that is we were talking about some information that Vidi gave us, talking about how that the different classes have different teleport cooldowns, and Electromancer, you're saying, has a shorter one than everyone else. So do you suppose, huh?
Oh, no, finish. Go ahead.
Oh, it's like, do you suppose that someone could finely tune using that ability for the Electromancer to avoid or mitigate most of the damage from TK heavies?
Exactly the strategy that we've seen Getsu go for, and I think it is an effective answer to the class. Just to kind of list out for some of the viewers who might not know, there are 2 tiers of teleport cooldown timers. The Blackjack, Anarchist, and Kineticist all share, I think it's barely over 2 seconds, and then the Electromancer and the Drifter both share a shorter cooldown, which is like, it's like 1.6, 1.7, something in that ballpark. But basically what it allows them to do is whenever they have incoming damage that they might want to avoid, if they're in a situation where their hand shield breaks, they can teleport and then quickly teleport again to kind of mitigate it as much as that as they can. And especially against Kineticists, where you can teleport, shoot down one of the oncoming attacks, which are, it's often their either small primals or their heavy primals, and then they can teleport again. It's been pretty effective in knocking into situations that you get on like Blackjack or Anarchist, where you teleport to a platform, you shoot down one piece of trash, and then, you have 2 more coming at you.
Yeah, definitely would be useful in that respect if you can get the timing right. But it's like Getsu says, it's about making those mistakes. And when 2 of you are going against each other, you have a little bit of lag to deal with, and he's got a wrist that's hurting him. I think in the end, it's going to be very hard for him to keep up with you. That's why we were pitching that Icy Hot deal. Maybe you can get that and get in those games against you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Icy Hot, if you're out there, Getsu's a great player. He's going to make it.
One could only hope. Right now, I know that you don't have too many people getting into the game just yet. I know it hasn't been advertising it, but we're hoping we'll get more people into there, and that we get some of you pros to teach the young kids how to play. Maybe even start like a smaller amateur league so that these guys can sort of spool up and get better at this game and learn from the pros. At what point do you think you might transition to coach?
I'm always willing to help players who are interested in the game. I mean, even before we started with the ESL stuff and all these tournaments, I mean, we had a great community where we were constantly playing with each other in ranked queue and like sharing strategies and like learning from each other, really. It can be a little daunting for new players to get in. I'm not discourage people because I want as many people to get involved in this game, but it's really beneficial to see what other players have done because, I don't know, with a game that is so core, has so much dependence on reaction time and understanding the mechanics, like comes in here and is just like, wow, I can throw a fireball. They don't understand that fireball is doing 9 damage and their shield health is 15. So then they reflect and, you got to release the hand shield or else the health's not coming back to it. Like there's all these sort of hidden mechanics that with them, the game can be a little snowbally against new players. But to bring it back in a little bit, we're very active in the Discord, and especially with some of the sales that have begun with the summer sale, we've been seeing new players crop up and be like, hey, I'm looking at this game, who wants to play? And people are jumping in, and I think they're pairing up with both other new players who are, similarly inexperienced, so that they're not getting stomps, but also some of the older players in the community are stepping up to say, hey, let's coach them through some of these things to hopefully build up that competitive community a little bit. Because right now, we're seeing a lot of the old names who have been involved with the community since the beginning, and some since especially when the ESL first picked up last summer.
So you heard it here from the mouth of the world champion Charizard that you could come to the Unspoken Discord. You can find the link. We'll even put it on our site. Join up. They will help you learn to play this game. You can get great if you want to put in the time, or if you just want to look really awesome in front of your friends while you show them VR and show them how to take down Lenore. There's also that as a pathway. But they will teach you how to play. It's an open community, and the number one player in the world is willing to help you get good if you're willing to put in the time and commit your mind to it. Thank you very much, Charizard, for talking with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
That's good old Charizard. Good guy. Great top player. He made some mistakes during the Oakland Regionals where we first met each other that cost him first place because it seemed like he wanted to win with some flair as opposed to win instead of doing what it takes to win. And but he changed his mind on that in Poland.
Yeah, he picked a Garden previously, which was not a good map for him. I think he was playing Blackjack.
As Blackjack,
and Rook was playing TK, and traditionally that's not a map you win. He picked it anyway. He lost on it, and it really cost him.
He dodged some stuff that was impossible to dodge. Just one bit where he does a quick shield, and it pulls up just 3 crystals when you quick shield is that one to hide behind, like a cloak, of, so to speak. And Rukafeld lined it up so that with his spears so that he could hit 2 of them. So it's like, 2 out of 3 chance, and the 2 he hits are the 2 that he's not in.
Yeah, super lucky on that one. Man. I remember that. That was back at IEM Oakland a couple months ago. But the Unspoken community, I've hung out with them personally. We actually had a bunch of them in a hotel room. We're all chilling out. Really friendly dudes. And back when I was learning the Unspoken, I didn't get as far as, of course, Charizard or Rook. But the Discord is a really great place. They're making videos. They're giving tips and tricks. They're, destroying me online, but you learn something from it every time it happens.
You're the number 20th player, right?
I think that was where I peaked, somewhere number 20.
Yeah. Not only they're very active on their Discord, but Charizard is very technical in the game. He's a fan of like writing up what he learns about it. And we've actually asked him to write for the site, be the community leader there to do write-ups on the game, write-ups on the tournament so that people can follow and actually learn better. And he said he already has like a tutorial series on YouTube. So it's like exactly place those on the vrrespawn.com vrespawn, I think is how we're deciding to say it, .com website so that people can have access to it. So it's an easy way for us. Anybody who wants to get into any of these VR sports games, they can go there. They can see when the events start. They can see when the new seasons start. They can get on a team, get a coach. It's all right there. The community is looking to help players. And speaking of like community type things, I love to drag VR equipment out to family get-togethers, and I've been doing this ever since I first got the equipment. I was like, I got to show it to everybody, and everybody I show it to, it blows their mind, and I always have to like step it up every time I bring stuff out. So now this family home that I go out to out in Matagorda, it's a pretty big place. It's like a converted hangar almost. So there's like this wide open area in the middle area, and then they have like apartments on the inside, and so that gives me plenty of space to set up VR. So I bring 3 now, and we play a lot of games. Like we like to play Gorn, and we like to get drunk and play Drunken Bar Fight. My niece likes to play a lot of the competitive games with me, like Sprint Vector, and she's really excited to play Onward with me this weekend. That's coming up. I'm going to bring a lot of equipment down, like the long weekend, like Friday all the way through to July 4th. So we're going to have a lot of fun doing that. But one of the times I was coming down, there were other families that were friends of hers and the families like this, my little like 13-year-old niece that had been staying for like the week prior because it was like summer, and we were coming in for the weekend, and she said, my uncle is the coolest. He brings this virtual reality thing. You have to see it. Please stay until they get here because we come kind of late at night. We come straight from work. And so they stayed around to see this. I set the equipment up while I'm talking about it, and I put it on their heads, and they fell in love with it, and everybody thought it was amazing. But the one boy, Austin, is like this little 14-year-old boy, was just super excited about it. He begged his dad to stay for the weekend, and so everybody went home, and they left Austin there, and he just mainlined VR. And he would get down on the ground whenever he would boot up into Robo Recall, like right before a match, like get really into it. Kind of like that pose you did for Sprint Vector. Like he would just get way down on it. He was just super into it because it just makes you feel awesome, that game. And then he really got into Super Hot and made sure like he just, that game was beating him up, and he got all the way through that. Really enjoyed the climb, and then fell in love with the Unspoken. And then he told me the next day that he was dreaming about coming out to an eSports stadium to compete in the Unspoken. And the person he was competing against was full cosplay as a Super Hot red crystal guy. So he's dreaming about this.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And this was way before I got pulled into the Challenger League, before they announced any of the esports stuff. Only thing that had happened was the New York competition. So he had looked at those and he was really into it, but he didn't have a Rift yet and didn't have a PC to really support it, because Unspoken is pretty taxing on your PC. It requires pretty strong equipment.
It's a pretty game.
You can turn it down, which most of the pro players do. But in either case, his dad contacted me later, asking me about what kind of laptop to get him, because they were going to get a Rift and they were doing it all I think around Christmas. And then he wanted to get into the Unspoken, and I let him know. I was like, hey, I'm actually a commentator for the league now, and there's this game, Echo Arena, that you're going to want to check out. That's what really was getting me crazy at the time. And when he wanted to get Unspoken, I think it was right when he got all the equipment and everything, it was right after Rukafeld had won the regional championship. So I was like, hey, I can contact the regional championship, see if he wants to teach you. And Rukafeld jumped right on it, had absolutely no problem with doing that, because that's how that community is. Top players will teach you how to play and teach you how to get good. And now the kid's playing a lot of the different games and is practicing on trying to be a VR esports star, but he is 14 and he is just getting started. And I think we may see him as a rising star. And if so, me, somewhere in my mid 40s, I'll be like, I remember when I showed VR to that kid all them years ago.
It's not too far from now. Your voice isn't going to change till then, dude.
That's the idea.
I'll probably sound about the same.
Yeah. Well, speaking of communities that work hard to teach new players, you covered Echo Arena all by your lonesome last weekend.
Yeah, so I played a lot of Echo Arena back in the beta, and I played a total of 1 match, and I won it single-handedly after the game came out, and was like, that's pretty much good, because Pavlov came out at the same time, or somewhere around there. And so I got really sucked into that, but Poonanders brought me on board to do some practice Echo Arena casts, and we casted Cup 4, and then this week, everyone was sick or missing, so they called Nikki from Stealth Shampoo on board to handle Cup 5. And the teams were very nice, managed to get an interview with MetaMercs that you guys listened to, and I learned a lot about the game, because some of those guys move so fast.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many things you can pick up from how they, screw with the goalie and shoot off the backboard, and even, coming out of the tubes. It's insane how these guys have really taken the game apart. And also, I saw multiple cross-map. One was goal-to-goal 3-pointers.
Yeah.
They're just absolutely mind-blowing.
The aim that these people have, there's so much, because it's just movement and throwing a disc. You got punching as well, but there's not a lot of mechanics, but there's a lot of room for you to be expressive and be yourself, which is something that I've always really enjoyed about a game that I can't stop talking about, Smash Brothers Melee, that you could watch a character move and you knew who was playing that character, that there was a lot of room for you to be expressive with your own character. And VR lets you do that even more, and Echo Arena even emphasizes that. Unspoken punishes you when you get outside your area, so there's no dodging or what have you. And the styles, it can be kind of hard watching them to see who it is playing. It's just purely based on speed. But Echo Arena, the kind of nonsense that people will pull, how that is, those crazy long shots from the left side of the arena, that's Boop. If someone does a roundhouse right before they throw it in, generally that's Simeon doing that, although he's trained himself to stop doing that now. His coach,
just showy.
Eyeshiny, has taught him, no more showboating. People who someone who's always playing upside down, lemming. The people that are now stacking up and getting sonic speed to get to across. It's brilliant. I could gas on all day about Echo Arena, but let's watch this piece you put together for us that'll lead us into the interview, the impromptu interview that you were able to get into during the tournament.
The European side of Echo Arena's ESL Cup 5 pit Karma and Broken against each other in round 4, where Ali's team Broken took out her father's team 2-0. The two of them were, in fact, in rooms next to each other the entire time. MetaMercs dominates the North American 5-2 ESL Cup this week with a flawless 5 wins, although second place team 11.5 and third place team NE Plus Ultra were able to both take a round off MetaMercs, but no series victories. Unsurprisingly, NA Cup 5-1 was swept by OC4 champions Eclipse. Ultra actually gave up against MetaMercs in their final NA match of the day. Ultra came out hot with a win in round 1, but after losing round 2, they lost a lot of steam and a player to a disconnect in round 3. Ultra was down 0-7 in the third round with 3:40 left on the clock. Plenty of time left to stage a comeback just at the time of the disconnect. However, Ultra chose not to wait for their player to reconnect and ultimately took the L. Ultra holds a solid standing at the third best team in Cup 5-2, losing to first place team Metamercs and second place team 11.5. With the top 2 Echo Arena teams rumored to be brought to Oculus Connect 5 in San Jose, California, Eclipse is almost a guarantee, but Metamercs is hot on their heels as the second team, with Ultra at 11.5 also looking to take a spot.
Try to get my hands on the interview here.
Oh, there we go. I found Shrimpitsky. I was looking for you. Dude, so you guys are completely... How confused? Yeah, I thought...
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know if I was on their team. I don't know if they're tired or did... So did Brendan disconnect out of rage or internet?
We think it was rage. It's probably a crash, but we think it was rage.
It was 0-7 with 340 left on the board, and they could have put up a fight. I mean, they brought you guys to round 3.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
No. I've thrown 12-0 leads before, so it's definitely possible.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that sucks. But nice job, guys. So you guys are undefeated in 5-2. Is that right? I don't think you guys dropped a game.
Yeah, we didn't. It's 5-0. We went 5-0 today.
Yeah, I went 5-0
Nice.
rounds, yeah.
What does that mean you guys win?
I think
$55 each and 100 points.
Yeah, we already qualified for stage finals, so we really didn't need to win this week, but it's nice.
No, we need to win every week.
Okay, yeah, fair. We need to win
We need points. We need points so we get our seeding in the grand finals.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. What?
It's really confusing. There's a spreadsheet somewhere that explains
Well, not
everything.
the grand finals, but the finals qualifier.
I know what you're talking about. So
seeding in that.
How many more cups do we have to go here?
A lot.
Like, is this going to OC5?
We got one more cup after this, and then it goes to the stage 2 finals.
Yeah.
And then there's 3 more cups, stage 3 finals.
Yeah.
And then there's a last chance tournament. Last chance qualifier. And then the qualifier finals, and the top 2 teams out of that go to the OC5.
Yeah, they get a trip to a conference and play in the final.
So you guys, I might see you guys OC5. OC5 is literally outside my house. Like, I could throw a rock at it right now. Yeah.
Nice.
Dude,
Yeah.
that'd be,
We'll got some beers, man.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely, dudes. So you
Yeah,
guys,
we'll
are in the
grab
running
some
right
beers
now.
after we win.
Dude, that's what's great about OC5 is we're all floating in space right now, but we're in a gravity-bound alcoholic location. I mean, that's the real part. In
We're
real
all
life.
talking. Okay, we're done. We're gonna get beers. Not together, but we'll all be thinking of each other.
Virtual beers.
Have you guys actually have you guys seen each other in real life before?
I've met Speedy in real life.
I stream, so they've seen me, I guess.
Yeah, I was at OC4
I stream with
also.
like a webcam and shit.
I too. What's your stream, Shrimpitsky? Pimp it out. You got some crazy long-range three-pointer shots today. Where do people go if they want to watch some long-range snipes?
It's twitch.tv/Shrimpitsky.
Dude, that's some flair right there. Yeah, it's right. Yeah, let me zoom in. Hold still. Right there. Right there. If anyone wants, twitch.tv/Shrimpitsky. Well, nice job, guys. Enjoy your $55. What are you gonna do with all that money?
I'm gonna pay off some bills. I'm just kidding.
Dude, if you can pay off all your bills with $55, that's incredible. I had to go live where you
It's actually kind
live.
of cool because on season 1 they just gave you the money for each week at whatever it came, but for season 2 they're keeping it all until the very end, so it's gonna be like a big paycheck for all this whole summer.
Oh, nice. So you guys are gonna come out with at least $55.
Yeah.
At least
dude.
$55.
We're up to like $150 at this point, probably. I don't know.
There's a number
I
somewhere.
don't know.
That's not a bad piece of pocket change right there. You can buy some clothes for OC5. They get you guys some sick jerseys.
Rags.
I'm gonna buy some OC5.
Dude, they come with some pretty sick swag bags. You guys were there, right? They had like pins and shirts.
Those swag bags are awesome.
Yeah, I
I didn't go to OC4. I wasn't playing this game for season 1, the most of season 1 anyways.
Yeah, I was just wandering around OC4. I was like, I should cast. I should cast one of these games. So I want to get into casting. And I saw Poonanners there, but for some reason I didn't talk to him. I never found him. We got super busy, and then I met him at IEM Oakland, and now we cast games. Now we're here.
Nice.
Yeah, you're a good caster. I'm excited to watch our games against 11.5
thanks, dude.
and also these games.
Hopefully, you guys get to watch the games where I wasn't eating, because I've been casting for 6 hours, dude, and I'm starving. This room is super hot.
You're even casting EU today, right?
Yeah, I'm dying here.
Wow.
I have 2 computers running. I have a VR PC and a streaming PC, so this room is maximum heat. I'm dying in here.
Maximum heat. I'm already getting followers from that plug, bro. I got Ace. Thank you, Ace.
Oh, nice. Ace is a regular in my chat. Ace, thanks for supporting VR. Let me see what happened in my chat. Let's see. Ace says I like that guy. We need to win every week. Yeah, fair. I called you Fa a lot of times. Fair. It was like Fa.
It's like Fahrenheit. Yeah, Fahrenheit with.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Well, I think Lemming told me, but I was whoa. What happened?
Okay.
Yeah, well, I just took Fa for a while. I think I called a Simeon like Simeon or something at some point too.
Simon. Yeah.
Yeah, it's my second week casting this, and like all I know is, well, I played this game a bunch in the beta, but I really just got the crash course on who everyone is and what the new meta is now.
Ah, gotcha.
Because like the disc joust not being neutral was like new to me. That's how long
I really
it's been.
like
Way
that.
better this way.
Yep.
We would probably lose 40-0 against Eclipse if the joust was the same as before.
Yeah, 'cause
they have
those
a
guys are
joust
fast.
that's unstoppable right now.
Yeah, they're very fast. Yeah.
We're working on ours, we're trying to get ours to a point where we can match them on it, and so we've been trying different things that we're not going to talk about. But
I don't know what you're talking about.
They lag too bad. I blame them.
Shut up.
You guys have secret tactics coming to maybe take down Eclipse if they're going to be at OC5.
Oh,
yeah.
They're going to be at OC5. There's no.
So you guys
Hey,
taking the other
whoa,
spot.
whoa. Let's not give them credit, okay? They suck.
They did lose against you guys that one time, from what I hear.
Yeah.
Yes.
They did.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they don't have Shiny
The
anymore.
only time we played him. Yeah. No, they don't have Shiny. He's busy playing Overwatch.
Ah,
Professionally.
there's enough Overwatch players out there in the world. There's so many of them. There are a dime a dozen. Echo Arena, though? That's where it's at. Echo Combat.
Yeah.
It is where it's at.
The pay is not good, but
Getting into is Shiny getting paid for? Is he in like
he's in like the minor league, whatever, like the one where he's trying to get a spot into the
Oh,
pro league.
that's still pretty good. That's
He's
pretty
on the
insane.
verge. He still has a contract and stuff. Like he lives in Las Vegas with his whole team. They have a house and coaches and shit. Yeah.
That's insane. I didn't know they did that for the minor leagues.
Yeah, exactly. But he still it still costs a lot of money to get involved in the one he's in and stuff like that. But
That's crazy. Well, at least he's on the verge of it. At least he's not like I'm high platinum. Let me try to make this big.
right.
Sounds like he might actually do something.
yeah, he might. That's what they keep saying.
I think he will. He's good at video games in general.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, he did come from Eclipse.
Although he's better at Echo Arena, and I'm so glad he's not here.
All right, guys. I'm gonna go finally feed myself. Kevin, catch you 6 hours. GG's.
All right, man.
Nice work,
Thanks
guys.
for streaming. You did good, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys.
See you next
Keep
week.
improving. I'll see you guys next week. GG, everyone.
Sure.
All right, man. That was really fun. I like those. I like those more personal conversations right after the games. We've talked to David Yee about that before. That was just something you do on the fly because you get so excited after watching the match. It's like, all right, I now have to talk to them. They couldn't hear me in Spectator. Tell me what happened, and people are just they're just so happy after the game. They're having fun, and everybody has their own personality. And the models for that Ready at Dawn put together for Echo Arena, like a guy's like folding his arms,
arms, and like one guy's got his arms on the side, one dude's holding onto a desk, or
the dude
whatever's in
motions to
front of
his
him.
name above his head.
Yeah, oh, that looks so good. Just the emotions you can see in the robots. The echoes are awesome. That was Metamercs, guys. They played an awesome 5-0 in the North American Cup, and I was done after that, man. I casted all day by myself.
Let's take a look at that bracket real quick. We can see the first cup. That's not the one that they were in. And Cup 5-1, Eclipse just stomped that one 5-0. Omegators and
As
Titan
usual.
tying it up. Yeah, that's pretty typical for them. But then we actually see there's Metamercs winning again over 11.5. 11.5 used to be top dog, but now the dream team of Fair Enough, Speedy, and Strembitsky taking them down and really stepping up their game for stage 2 to seal that spot, as they talked about during their interview about the incredibly complicated method with which you can get yourself to OC5. And it's looking pretty good for them. to get there. If you take a look at the stage rankings, it is Eclipse and Metamercs right at the top of 200 for the stage, but Eclipse's ranking for the stage is kind of pointless. How well they do for stage 2 doesn't matter because they've already secured their spot for the world qualifier. So right now it's just Metamercs and 11.5 that we want to think about. Over in the EU, we see that blah, 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 ever since they reformed after the Niles has retired from the game and Aftershock has rejoined his buddy Boop on this team, that they are still holding on to their first place in stage 2 over Boost in their own cup. But then way over in Cup 2, we're able to see that Team Gravity, even though they don't need to, they decided to show up this last week and show that they could win and still win, even though they've already secured their first spot for the World Qualifier. Now, as the Echo Arena players let us know, they still have to, they're still going to have a fight in front of them if they want to make it down to OC5. But VR Jersey, with some of the sponsorships that he's getting now and signing new players, he's pretty confident that is going to be the way it goes down.
These teams, absolutely incredible. I watched Team Gravity also, just not so close games that they were playing against some people who are unfortunate enough to be matched up against them. Just the way the Swiss tournament format works.
Here's the question. Did you notice that the EU players looked faster?
Someone actually asked me that in the lobby. I think that was Eclipse. They were like, what do you see them do differently when they come out of the tubes? And we were talking with Eclipse. It's somewhere on my VOD, mixer.com/SailShampoo, where the EU teams are a lot of fast offense. And they all do that.
Yeah, they all everybody knows the mechanic of stacking up on top of each other. So you kind of like re-grab and get your speed there. But it seems like the European players are all good at it. Like they're not just one team's good at it and the other team's like not that great. They're all good at it and they form up together. You see Eclipse do it quite well. It's that tag team between Lemming and Simeon are pretty good, but they don't have to usually fight against other people that do that so much. So they don't have a lot of practice playing against people who are just mean about it. Versus you see Team Gravity, blah, 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 other major teams that we've got going over in the EU, they all do it, and they all do it quite well, and they all fight that way. Like, they fight while they're re-grabbing and going as fast as a bullet. I caught some of those EU games the week before you casted them. I woke up a little bit early to do it because I think I just had time. I was excited, and I was watching them play, and I was just thinking, and I was like, if this is how the EU plays, OC5 is going to go a much different way than Poland did.
Yeah, because the EU is so used to playing against other people who move that fast, where NA, not everyone uses that hyper offensive stacking, flying around strategy. So it'll be interesting to see when the two metas collide OC5, or whenever they do collide.
And we did see like meta changes during that final match at Poland. And one of the meta things that I've seen, which I believe is the reason that we've seen a slowdown at the higher levels of that stack and regrab move, is that a common move that you see people make is that they'll hide behind an island because they can see the disc, and then they'll jump out and grab the disc, right? Another move I'm starting to see from the faster top teams is they get a pretty good idea of where the stack up is going to go when the disc is coming this way, and the lead strikers want to stack up and return. That this guy will one member of the team will hang out right here, generally the midfielder, and he'll intercept the guys doing that and knock them both out, giving his team a 2v1 against their goalie.
I've seen the ride going to the other side.
That's the problem with stacking up, is now both of you are a target and you lose all your speed and your host because that guy's just going to pin you there and not let you go. I mean, you could kind of get back up to speed once you're unknocked out because then you're like invincible for a period of time, but that's all the time the other guys need to run down and pummel your goalie. I don't see it happen a crap ton, but I saw it happen enough that I was like, this is going to become the meta that it's going to be very dangerous for you to stack up if you don't know where the other guys are. Luckily, they can't see through the island to see who's stacking up and coming at them, so not too much of a problem. Remember, Hasko is our lead writer for Echo Arena. We're taking on as many people who want to come help out. This is a community-built show. She has a lot of interviews and articles that she has done, more in-depth interviews with other players on her YouTube channel, and you can catch those inside of her articles at vrespawn.com. Echo Arena Invitational emails have gone out. The ESL is doing another invitational out in the UK in Leicester, I believe is the way it's pronounced, just like they did for Onward. They're doing it for Echo Arena, flying out the 4 best teams in North America and in Europe in just a couple weeks. So there are people scrambling to get passports, people paying a lot of money in order to expedite passports because they've never been out the country or they were expired. I'm not sure what happened there. We've seen it happen before. People had to expedite passports. We had one Canadian player, Ganja Flux, actually had to do that to get out to OC4 last year. So that was pretty fun.
Just take a couple hours out of your day to get your passport ready, because those things are good for what, 10, 20 years? They're good for a long time.
It's not 20, because I've had to have mine redone before. I'm thinking it's 5 or 6. I don't know. My wife handles it.
They're good for a while. So just go get your picture taken. Let them know that you're a real human being, and get that done. Because if you have any chance of going out of the country, there's a lot of stuff to worry about. Make sure your passport's not one of them. I go out of the country about once a year, maybe twice. So it's just useful. Get it done.
Yeah. So another thing I wanted to talk about, Echo Combat. The open beta went really well. People enjoyed what they got to see. It turns out they didn't get to see everything we got to see at E3, so we were kind of lording that over them. Yes, we did. But it still turned out well, and our community's own player-turned-developer, Sakura, hinted that there will be more because it said open betas with an S, but that is all they're saying for now. So we know that we're going to get to see more as they probably add more to the game before the official release. But we know the official release has to be coming soon, because there's already discussion that ESL is planning on doing Echo Combat stuff, or at the very least, we're going to see it at OC5. So we're expecting a similar timeline. We're thinking we're going to get a similar timeline that we got to Echo Arena from last year. So we'll see how that plays out. But that's the current rumor mill. But right now, what we want to talk about is another favorite game of Stealth Shampoo that he alluded to earlier, Beat Saber, and a special announcement that they had.
Beat Saber, ladies and gentlemen, multiplayer is already in a community-made glitchy alpha, but we're getting official developer support of it, and they're actually taking someone from the modding community to come work with the Beat Saber team to help with multiplayer. So this is an indie game with a large, passionate modding community that are combining forces to make the biggest VR game by far right now. If you go on VR LFG, Beat Saber's always at the top. The only game that breaks 1,000 concurrent players. We're only talking on Steam. We're not talking Oculus.
It's a beautiful and fun game, but I think a lot of the fervor around it is from that Live support and how beautiful that content from Live gets, and especially the crazy combinations that some of the players like RageSack does, where he goes Darth Maul mode. I think those videos do well, including Swan, her dance videos where she dresses nice and actually looks really cool while she's playing the game. That that was always the question or problem that people have with VR. Like, you see a VR video and you don't really get it. You just see a small portion of one eye and you're like, oh, that game looks terrible. I don't want to play that game. But then with Live, with the mixed reality support, you're like, oh wait, that's what it communicates better. That's what it feels like to be in that game. That's awesome. And then also, this is that Beat game that I would want to dance around and do it, but there's people around me and I'm too self-conscious. But when you have the headset, you're not that self-conscious. You get more into it. It's the same reason why we like to interview in game. When you interview in game, people aren't nervous and self-conscious. Instead, they feel more comfortable because they're game character. They feel more who they are inside VR. That's fun to say.
This is Beat Saber's a very easy game to play. There's 3 rules: don't hit the walls, don't hit the bombs, and match the color. I guess also match the direction. So I guess that would be 4 rules. Very simple. We're talking no buttons basically needed at all except the trigger in the menu, and easy to pick up. It's very similar to other rhythm games. People are familiar with Osu and Guitar Hero and Rock Band and all this kind of stuff. It's super popular in Asia, Beat Saber. I didn't know that. They really love their games over there.
That makes sense,
yeah, they love rhythm games over there. And the game is just this perfect storm of just VR being shown off well and being played well.
When they even hinted at it the first time it hit Reddit, we were just like, yep, give it to me now. Exactly. Yep. And speaking of Live and multiplayer support and Swan that I mentioned, you went out to Live and actually played a match off against her where she got to pick out the songs, right? You want to walk us through this game, how this worked out for you?
Yeah, so we did a Beat Saber tournament. The rules were first round was picked rock, paper, scissors, and all the following rounds were picked via a loser. So I won rock, paper, scissors, so I got to pick the first song, which was Dangerous Night by 30 Seconds to Mars. I actually listened to that song while I was playing Sprint Vector for the Vegas tournament a lot. So I had the flow of that song down quite a bit. And then full combo that, and I won the first round. It was 1st to 6, and so because Swan lost every round after that, she got to pick every song, and I won on every song. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm not significantly taller than her, but I'm thinking 6 inches. they actually showed player cards of our stats, like our Myers-Briggs and our height and all that stuff. So in Beat Saber, you can score more points by striking wider, and because I'm taller, I can naturally strike wider. I also warmed up my wrist.
The developer did let us know on that it has a lot to do with how your follow through and how even the sides are.
Yeah, you cut through the middle, that's 10 points. Then a 90-degree strike is another, so many points. Then a 60-degree strike through that is more points. So because my arms are longer, even though I hadn't played her tracks before, I just swung through harder. There's actually one track where she hit more notes than me, but I swung better, so I scored a lot more points. And it's just that little bit of height difference because I'm about 6 inches taller than her. I was able to take it home. But Swan is absolutely the more stylish of us.
That's what I was going to say.
I went
like, you won a point.
If it was a style battle, it was over. I actually purposefully tried not to wear anything fancy because if I even looked like I was trying in the style battle, I still would have got demolished. So I went super stealth shampoo casual, and she came in with like a really fancy dress, as she always does. If it was a style battle, I would have straight up gotten.
If you just showed up in that Tyrannosaurus Rex costume, you'd have been all right, though, right?
Oh, I don't know, man. I might have overheated in that.
Oh, fair enough. That's the risk you take.
It got hot in there. I wanted to win all 6 rounds in a row because if she would have won, we would have had to play more songs. I think both of us would have had to pass out because it was warm in that room. Live offices. You got all that VR running. But it was awesome. It was local multiplayer. Beat Saber actually has local multiplayer. It's called the party mode. So there's solo and party. So if you click on party, you can run as many people as you want through a song, and then there's a local leaderboard where you can type in people's names.
That's my preferred way to play because I like to show it off to people.
Yeah, it's not glitchy.
Yeah, and you can catch the entire competition if you want to on twitch.tv/LIV. Really good on them for getting those 3 letters, as I'm sure someone probably had it at one point.
That's amazing branding. But the thing is, a lot of those songs, because they are copyright, are muted. So I think they're probably only, out of the 6 tracks, maybe 3 of them are unmuted.
You got to catch the streams as they happen.
Yeah, and just follow them on Twitter, twitter.com/live. They were really happy with this stream and the turnout for it. So if you want to support more in the future, check it out, twitter.com/live. Shout out to them. Shout out to Swan. I love Swan. I love those Live guys. Fantastic people, helping a fantastic game, helping a fantastic community that both Poonanners and I support, like we said at the beginning of the show. But I think that is all we have to talk about this week. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to help out with any of this, reach out to our human resources department. We could use writers, editors, graphic people, makeup artists, caterers, all that kind of stuff. Reach out to our human resources department.
You want to do interviews, you want to do on-camera stuff, you want to do casting, commentating, anything. This is a community-built thing. We're not really in charge. People have asked us to sort of play that role, and our role for being in charge is you do what you want, and if it looks good, then we'll just keep using it. And it's like, if it doesn't look good and we can't do anything better, we'll use it anyway. The whole point is for us to just keep trying to do better. That's why I'm wearing a tie now. It's our ever increasing commitment for production value here at V Respawn.
Yeah, but I got that sweat rag because we're talking about hot VR news. We gotta keep it cool and still Shampoo HQ. We especially need players to interview. We want all your voices heard. So if you are a player, you want to be interviewed via voice or text, actually, if you're more comfortable writing, then hit us up because we especially want to talk to all the players who are passionate about their games. Because like we said, there's no one who can show off how awesome VR is than the players themselves. We want to make this as authentic as possible. So especially players, reach out to us and represent your favorite game. You can be interviewed if you just want to type to us or you want to come have a chat. Either one works.
Yeah, us VR esports players, we are a small community, but we are a passionate and excited community. So join us and let's continue to build this so that we can know what everyone else is doing. There's a lot of times we just don't know what events are going on. We don't know how much money is out there. There's people getting brand new headsets that have no idea that there's all these fun communities they can join. And this will give us a way to sort of digest that there's the ability to read stuff. You want to get the heavier material that you can read. And for those of us like me that just have a short attention span, we got a video here and we have an editor that is trying his hardest to make them short and digestible. Thank you very much, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thank you, Stealth.
Yeah. Thanks, Poonanners.